welcome to the world of Q&Asa. Here we go again. And I don't know what we're going to talk about today, so I hope you've brought lots of topics for me. So this is episode 12 of this fantastic weekly show. I can already see loads of people there. Ricardo, Peter's here, Isla's here. Thank you for coming along. If you are late to the show, I was as well, so it's all good. Leave a comment and ask questions and things like that. Where did the tail go? Dead Island. You don't know, you don't play games. Good start from the topics in chat. Rims is here as well. So as you may or may not be aware, I had a little bit of a holiday. I missed the weekend and I was pretty slow getting back into things, which means I don't really know what's going on. So you can tell me if I've missed anything. We've got a new background that you might not immediately recognize, but I'm sure some of you will get pretty quickly. We've got a new OST, which you might get a little bit quicker. A well-deserved rest. No, I didn't deserve a rest, but thank you. Thank you anyway. But before we get into the topics that we have got, it's a word from our sponsor. It's me, it's Game On Daily. Welcome to... Oh, what am I talking about? So Game On Daily is our news aggregation platform. It's an MMORPG, you do you, but that's not what Game On Daily is. It's not an MMORPG, it's a community platform, social media, news aggregation. I'll just flick it up very quickly. If you've not already been to the website, if you've not already registered on it, oh gee, you are missing out. There's so much here, so much news coming through, all of the different platforms that you know, and some that you don't care about as well, but you can tailor it all. You can say, I don't care about the Nintendo Switch, I don't want to see any of that news coming through in my feed, and it won't. So wonderful, good platform. You should check it out as soon as possible, but not right now because we've still got at least an hour to go. I don't know, it might end up being a slightly shorter show than usual because I don't really know what I'm going to talk about. First of all though, I always start on games. So I want to know what you've all been playing this week. I'm hoping some people have since last week got into Cult of the Lamb 2 Point Campus, the ones that I was interested in last week and no one had played. Game On Daily VR, yes, Rims, there is definitely all the VR news you can hope to ignore. But I find it fascinating. So Ricardo has a question for me. What Embracer Studios doing a Middle-earth game first? We'll have a look at Embracer in a little bit. For those unaware, Embracer have announced a few things, but one of them is that they've got the rights to The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, so they can do whatever they want in that universe. And they've got like a million studios to do it with. But let's start off with what I've been playing. So obviously, being that I had a holiday, I haven't been playing as much as usual, which means I need a little more from you. You need to tell me what you've been playing. But I have been on the treadmill. I've been into Skyrim VR. I tried to help clear a body off the floor of a tavern. I gently threw some cheese at them and all hell broke loose. So if you were there for that stream on Tuesday, it was pretty ridiculous. But I don't know, everyone just started killing everyone. You had to go Octo. It's not your game usually, but you haven't given up yet. So yeah, that's the other game that I've put quite a lot of time into, actually. In fact, I've probably got it right here. Octopath Traveler is all grey. I've played it a bunch and I liked it at the start. It gripped me fairly quickly. No, don't go home, you dick. Right, it gripped me fairly quickly. And now I'm slightly less on it. So Octopath Traveler, you've got these 8 characters. You pick one at the start without knowing much about them, and I have since learned that you are locked into that one character. You can't get rid of them. But then you go around the map and you pick up the other 8 characters, and you start getting like an asynchronous storytelling thing. I think the timer on my save files is about 18 hours, but a lot of that isn't actually played. So I'm probably, I don't know, 12 to 15 hours into it. I've done every character's chapter 1 and I'm moving into their chapter 2. And I'm finding it less enjoyable at the moment. Who's my main? So I'm a Cyrus main at the moment because he was the nearest character to the cursor when you start up the game. And it felt kind of like you're supposed to start as Cyrus. And Cyrus is a scholar and his initial storytelling is fairly interesting and kept me playing the game. I wouldn't say all of the 8 characters are equal in terms of how interesting their stories start out. My sound, it doesn't matter. Yeah, he's a nerd, exactly. What I find really weird though is there's almost no link between the characters at all so far. So I've done chapter 1 of all of them, and it's possibly necessary because you could have done these in any order, so they couldn't do much like linked dialogue between them. But I don't think you need to do them all to progress to chapter 2. So the game seems to be suffering from parties that aren't really parties. Nobody really is linked in any way whatsoever. They don't talk to each other much. You get the occasional little optional cutscene where they have a very boring exchange between characters. Painful Discourse is here, welcome along. But it has, like, the most jarring example for me is you've got 7 characters in a party who are like pretty typical types. I've got my scholar who's like a mage, I've got a priesty type, I've got hunters and all the rest of it, and I've got a rogue type thief character. And it's really jarring that you put him in a team with like 3 other people who are all righteous and good, and he can just go around robbing people because that's his special skill, like not just in combat but around the villages as well. You can walk in front of anybody in a village and go, I'm going to steal from you, in a group of good guys, and none of them say a word. It's just like, little old lady, I'm going to steal a bunch of grapes from your pocket. I don't know why, just because I'm an arse. And everyone's like, yeah, this is cool. So I don't know, I'm a little bit thrown out of it at the moment, and I'm finding that because I've played too many games, I can see too many like structural clues going through. Peter, you are the thief, so that's different because then like the other people are following the thief around, and maybe it makes a bit more sense. I'm like a good noble scholar who wants to share knowledge with the world. Tribes of Midgard I would like to talk about in a minute. Yes, Painful Discourse, we can talk about that. And Takada, who says that you're playing it. But yeah, so my noble scholar is just following a thief around. He's just mugging people, just shaking them down all over the place. Like, I'm going to take whatever you've got in your pocket. And it's weird. It is weird. But it's also very clearly laid out a structure. Like, I know how many chapters each of these stories is going to have, because some of them are quite rote. Like, oh, you need to go and find 3 gems. You need to go and light 3 fires. Okay, there's very clearly going to be 3 additional chapters. And I'm hoping that everything converges and the game picks up at the end. And then if it has a good ending, it can still rescue itself and I can still enjoy it. It might go the opposite way to Astria Ascending. Astria Ascending had like a good basis for a story that it just forgot to explore. Octopath Traveler still has time to explore it, and it's a really well rated game, so I'm hoping that it does. But if not, I've hit that tipping point that I talked about in a different video where I'm like, okay, I'm 15 hours in, so I'm probably going to carry on with it even if I don't like it. Tribes of Midgard. Oh, Isla's thought of a question for Since You Asked. Okay, that's good. You can ask it now, or we can save it for those separate videos. If you're not aware, Since You Asked, which was stealthily renamed to Because You Asked for the last episode, is like a little extension of this show. They're just like 5-minute videos where we throw up a random question. And the last one, we did a question, so Isla asked it, a question about how I approach character creation in games. And the video is quite good, I think. I like it. Peter likes it. And not many people have watched it. So hopefully check that out as well, because it's quite amusing, I think. KY, hello, welcome. There we go. Peter approves. That's all we need. Tribes of Midgard. So a few people have mentioned that. Is this by any chance because it's just come out on Xbox? Ah, look at that. You've all been watching it. That's cool. Who is on Tribes of Midgard, and have you managed to find people to play it with? So I tried Tribes of Midgard when it came out. If you're not aware of it, it's perspective wise it's like a top-down Diablo style hack and slash, but it's mixed in with survival elements. You're supposed to build up your base and defend it against monsters with like a day and night cycle, like a Minecraft kind of affair, where in the day you go out harvesting resources and getting stronger, and then at night your base gets attacked and you're supposed to defend it. It has probably its biggest feature is that it supports 10-player co-op. So when it came out, it was launched on, it was the free game on PlayStation Plus, which is the kind of thing that a game like that needs. If you're going to get people into 10-player co-op, you need to kind of give it away, unfortunate truth. I don't think it is on any Xbox service though, is it? I think they've just released it to coincide with their launch of Season 2. And as a couple of people have mentioned it, I'm assuming some people have now picked it up on the Xbox. I actually have it on the PC instead, I think. Do I, or do I have it on the PlayStation? I can't remember. can't remember where I got it. I was hoping to have people to play it with, and then absolutely nobody had access to it, so I never played it with other people. I played it single player during season 1, and it wasn't very good, to be honest. It wasn't very good. There was some potential there. Like, I wanted that to be a good game. It should have been. It's got its whole very overdone Norse mythology setting, but there were things about it that I wanted to crack into and enjoy. I want to know what you lot think of it, though, because some of you have been playing it. Why are you yelling Stadia at me? You know, it could go either way, but you're really liking the look of Entropy Center. I don't know what Entropy Center is. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Oh, I didn't. So, Painful Discourse has just said in the chat there that High on Life and Evil West have been delayed, but still late 2022. I had heard that Evil West had been delayed. I didn't know that High on Life had been delayed, but what I did see was I saw various people bemoaning delays, possibly over the weekend. I can't remember when I saw it, and I couldn't find what specifically they were complaining about, so I'm reckoning it was High on Life. That is a shame, because I want to play High on Life. So Dakota says it's very difficult in a full lobby when no one works together. Oh, so you're doing it with public matchmaking. That never even occurred to me. So I never, ever public matchmake on anything. I've said a lot of evers then. It's not even strictly true. I did a bit of public matchmaking on Halo, I think. But I'll never really go into these things, like, literally on my own into a public matchmaking scenario. At least not in terms of having people on my own team. I don't mind going against other people, so I'll public matchmake on, like, multiverses to fight some strangers. It's all the better knowing that they're probably 6 years old and I'm going to win. But I wouldn't very likely go into a public matchmaking game on, like, a co-op kind of thing. Tony's here, Patrick's here. You're all late. We're at the beginning, so we don't need to start again. PC Master Race Elitist. No, I wouldn't go with... Oh, gee, no, they're the worst. I wouldn't matchmake on a PC game either. I just don't get along with people on the internet. Like, it's so rare because you get... I find... I could be completely wrong on this, but my experience of public matchmaking is probably 95% of the people on there are, like, friendly, good people. And that 95% don't say anything. The other 5% that are utter dickheads are the only ones that talk. So I'm alright at, like, staying away from that. Let you... What? It took you 20 minutes to get your daughter to pet to let you change her diaper. Yeah, it can be a difficult negotiation. 95% is a bit generous. You think it's you think there aren't as many nice people as that? It feels that way. So when you actually play an online game, it feels like everyone is a dickhead. But I try to tell myself it's not true. Like, yes, every game that I go into seems to be filled with dickheads, but it's usually just one or two people, really. Like, I'm sure the good people are there, just not talking like me. I don't talk to the dickheads. Like, not there for arguments. So I stay quiet until eventually I just stop matchmaking, which is weird because I used to be constantly online. Maybe I was the dickhead back in those days when I was loud. No, I wasn't. I was always all right, I'm sure. Nuh-uh. Those people who held your hand in Halo Infinite. What do you mean? We had one nice story in Halo Infinite with public people who didn't realize that they were public. It's like my favorite online story for a little while. It's so silly. So we jumped into a public game of Halo Infinite near to the launch of it, and it seemed to have some wonky chat systems where sometimes chat was open and sometimes it wasn't, and people weren't entirely sure whether they were talking to just their friends or whether they were talking to a group. We had this one kid, I'm going to say he was a teenager, he sounded like a teenager, got into the game and he was properly excited because he had never been in any of the flying vehicles and he really wanted to get in one. And we were listening like, stop talking, there's another annoying person talking in the public chat. But as the game went on, he got in his first flying vehicle and he was so excited. So it's actually quite endearing. That's the only public chat I've wanted to hear, was this one kid who got to fly his first vehicle in Halo. That was a fun time. You have to mute every person's mic when you play Halo. Yeah, I mean, I just don't have the Halo sound at all. If people are in my group, then I'll be able to talk to them. I'll be talking to them on Discord and ignoring all the Halo voices or something along those lines. They think we're fucking whales. Yeah, that might have been the same people. Wait, when you were no mic and they thought you were a babby. Oh, I did have... Yeah, there was another one. What game was that? That wasn't Halo, was it? There was a public game I went into. And I didn't have a microphone because I was streaming at the time, so I couldn't talk to whoever was there. And they were being really nice and friendly, trying to lead me around and teach me how to play something that I very much already knew how to play. That wasn't Halo, was it? I don't know. Fun times. So not everyone on the internet is an arse, but some are, and I definitely am. You always thought the silent ones were women avoiding online abuse. Well, I'm sure there are a portion of people doing that, but there's definitely a portion of people who just don't want to deal with it. Not because they're necessarily going to receive abuse for like that kind of thing, but because arguing is not what I play games for. Talking to dickheads is not what I play games for. Part of it is a me problem though. Like, I'm fairly introverted and won't generally talk to people in the real world if I can help it. So I don't know. More outgoing people probably have lots of fun. RWK, please do not thank me for being here. It took me a long time to do this kind of thing. It was never my intention to be on YouTube or Twitch, so who knows how this has happened. But if you go on mic, people think you're a small boy. You have the opposite problem that Gaz has. I'm sensible. Don't know about that. Sometimes. Don't think sensible is anything I've ever aspired to be, that's for sure. Definitely nothing anyone would have thought I'd grow up to be. But I guess I'll take it. Let's talk about... Wait. I need to... So Dakarda's just said something very... what's the word? Relatable. So World of Warcraft killed your desire to matchmake because of being tank or healer. Tell me more, Dakarda, of your experience of World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft it did the same to me. I was a good tank on World of Warcraft, but it's impossible to find a polite group. And I was a good healer on World of Warcraft. But World of Warcraft, looking for dungeon queues was a disaster. When Super Chats, we are 685 people away, I think. So not that soon. I don't know how to get more people onto YouTube, but got this lovely background that no one's identified yet. I'm surprised no one has identified my beachside relaxing slightly different video. This is a small subtle cue that you probably won't necessarily pick up, but normally the backgrounds that I have are between 5 and 15 minutes and they just loop with a little bit of blending. Yes, Tony. Tony has got it. This is Forza Horizon 5, and it is a 4 hour and 20 minute video that is playing in the background because that is the day cycle. Super to chat to me, isn't that nice? The full day-night cycle of Forza Horizon 5 is 1 hour and 20 minutes. Sorry. So I am sitting on a beach on Forza's Mexico, having a nice time. And OST, someone must have... Can you hear the OST? Because it's an easy one this week. I think it's an easy one this week. But no one's called it yet. You can't hear it. I could turn it up a little bit. It sounds pixel arty. It is an old game. It is pixel art by necessity because it is that old. It is not a side-scroller game. Phantasy Star 2, no. No, see, I can't. I'm going to make it so that I can hear it. Right now, I can't. It just seems to do that every now and again. So I can hear which particular track it is, because I think the more recognizable kind of signature tracks were at the start. Oh, I can't hear it. My speakers have turned off. My headphones even. Yeah. You can't hear it. It goes for the volume control. You don't want that. You get my voice booming too loud. I can turn it up a bit. Just for now. Just a little. Pokemon. No. Original team. Yeah. To be fair, the track that's played now I would not recognise either. You can't hear it even though you turned it up. And go a bit louder. Metroid. No, we're going to leave this one running, so you will get it as it goes on. Oh, actually, no, I would recognise this from what I can hear right now. Let you think of games older than you. Yes, it will be older than you, I would think. You only have your left earphone. Wow. That's no excuse. Mega Man, nope. We'll leave that running. Yes. It's not a side scroller really, no. It's not Sonic. So I think the whole OST is only about 35-40 minutes long, which means it will loop round and you'll hear the more signature tracks. So I don't want to give it away until that's happened. Good evening, Wayne, you random character generating cheater. Oh, that's signature. Someone's got to have it. It's Nintendo. It's a Nintendo version of a not Nintendo game. Why did I delete your comment? I've not deleted your comment. And also, was it on a since you asked video or a because you asked video? Before or after the rebrand? Either way, I've not been on and deleted any comments. The only other person with access to delete comments is you. So the question becomes, why did you delete your own comment? That's a wild thing to do. You must have been feeling pretty guilty about something. Rebrand. You had to go max volume to even get a background sound. What what are you watching on, Peter? So the sound mix is very different whether you're watching on speakers or headphones. I'm going to assume you're on speakers, so not be able to hear it. But if I do it much louder, it'll blow out people's earphones. PC with a sound bar here. That makes sense. Isla, it was initially called Since You Asked. The current thumbnail and title are Because You Asked. I'm not sure the brand matters too much. I don't have a strong brand identity right now. Yeah, good experiences on Gears of War 4, matchmaking wise and chat. So recently, or when it came out, when it was a current game and had a mainstream audience, you still had a decent experience with people. You have me projected into the sky against the clouds like the bat signal as nature intended. Yes. Good. What was I bringing up? I got like a YouTube unsearched. Oh, it's Tribes of Midgard from earlier. I don't need it anymore. We stopped talking about Tribes of Midgard unless anyone has anything else to add than that. Why didn't I point that out before it went live? Because I didn't know. I'm very slow on certain things. So nobody pointed out to me that the title for today's Q&Asa stream was exactly the same as last week's title until 1 or 2 minutes past 9. It's the reason that I started a couple of minutes late because I copied stream settings and forgot to change the title. Amateur stuff. Amateur stuff was such a nicely Nicely presented stream otherwise. You did notice that and you forgot to tell me. Pain. Death Stranding, Tony. If that's your guess on the OST, you're very wrong. It definitely wasn't a Death Stranding OST. Tribes of Midgard is on season 3 now, and Xbox have this black screen. Oh no, there it is. Brain damage is contagious, so we're even. Even sounds good, I'll take it. Take my draws where I can get them. How much is Tribes of Midgard on Xbox? I think it launched, it was only like £15 or something when it launched on the other system, so I'm assuming it's about the same $20 kind of value. You're going to make a short of me stealing pants. You're going to make a short of me stealing pants, but that's not a thing that's happened. Pretty sure that's not a thing that's happened. 20. It had quite a quiet little launch on the Xbox side of things. It's a shame it didn't make it into Game Pass. Just because of the co-op nature of it. But just watching this little trailer makes me think, oh, this looks like a game I would enjoy. I should play this. It wasn't enjoyable when I did play it though. The nighttime bosses playing on your own were just like ridiculous bullet sponges. And I say bullet sponges, I don't think you get guns in the game, but they were ridiculous spear and sword and arrow sponges that just mushed into your base and killed you in a very anticlimactic and boring way. How much is it? It depends on platform, I would think. You wonder if it got blocked. Oh, Sony, no. So Sony don't. There's like a slight misconception. There's a slight misconception on these blocking rights. People seem to think that Sony are literally offering money to block games. But it's not. It's a tie-in to their contracts for other things. So they are definitely blocking things from going to Game Pass, but they're not just doing that. It'll be tied in with their marketing rights or their own subscription. I know you're joking, Patrick. It's all good. But I see other people on the Twitter and places like that thinking that that's literally all Sony are getting, and it's not. It's a clause in their little contracts if you want their money for marketing or to go on their services and all the rest of it. The pig, whatever he's called. Oh. I see. I understand. Yeah. Coffee. Good. Decade. So Tribes of Midgard wasn't... you make a good point. Wasn't exclusive to PlayStation in that kind of way. It was like it's a very small team that made it. So it was released on PlayStation, but it was, I think, on PlayStation Plus. So it probably did have a no Game Pass for a certain amount of time clause in there. If I were a shill, what kind of products would I shill? I would shill anything and everything that people offer to me. And Yodani and Gaz, thanks for stopping by. I would not shill anything at all, ever. I'm pretty sure. I don't know, if like LG came up and said, hey, we've got this brand new OLED TV. We'd like to give you one if you'll say something nice about it on the YouTube channel. That would test my integrity. It would be difficult to say. I don't want that. Piss off, LG. But I like to think that I would still say no. I like to think that I wouldn't. Terrible VR products. I don't want to shill anything. I don't want free stuff. I see certain people on Twitter asking for free things or dropping massive hints that they want them. Oh, I'm really interested in reviewing that product. Side eyes. And it makes me a little bit sick. So no, that will never be me. And that will never be Gaz. And if I see Gaz accidentally slipping into it, I will remind him, don't be a shill. And he knows that I will. And he'll do the same for me. People who watch Q&Asa as well as Go Live should get priority on the Tuesday show. Well, yes, like people that are in and about the community will have priority, I'm sure, on the Tuesday show whenever it may start. What am I drinking? Looks like Bailey's. No, this is just not very warm coffee. Tepid coffee is what I'm drinking. Could be worse. And it is, as we know, Q&Asa, I always have drinks and forget to drink them, so I've done well to get through that one in 35 minutes. But let's move on. So Death Stranding, eh? I'm sure everyone has seen by now it's like 99% confirmed, very much like pretty definitely happening. Death Stranding is coming to Game Pass for PC. Gaz is a robot that no, Tony, if I were to create a robot, it would not go in console war. That would be a twist. Coffee at midnight. So where I am, it's 9:30 at the moment, but yeah, caffeine doesn't really do anything to me, particularly. So yeah, coffee at any time of day is fine if I fancy it. Doesn't really stop me sleeping, because I don't sleep anyway. There's no AI involved in Gaz. That's brutal. He's here, you know. It's 4:30 where you are. Afternoon show. Does that mean you're sitting at work? Or no, you said you had your daughter's nappy to deal with. You can't recreate Gaz. It's original as fuck. Yes, give him that. I'll give him that. But Death Stranding. So I'm sure we've had a bit of Death Stranding talk before, but not recently. Possibly not in the 12 weeks that I've been running this. Who's a fan of Death Stranding already? Or who's going to try it now that it's coming to Game Pass for PC? I personally, so Gaz and I were at, what was the show? I can't remember. Might have been, was it EGX? No, it wasn't EGX. We were somewhere anyway where they had a little tent and they were showing Death Stranding. And it looked absolutely awful. You regret not being a fan of it. I had been intending to play Death Stranding for the longest time, and it's had its director's cut edition upgrade for the PlayStation 5, and it's included in the PlayStation Plus subscription thing, so I have access to it. I could go and play it. I've got a PC as well, which would presumably, I don't think there's a big difference between the PlayStation 5 version and the PC version, but I'm assuming you can get a little more out of it on PC at least. So now it's coming to Game Pass for PC, which means I can also get it in subscriptions that I've already got on whatever platform I want. I can't get it on Xbox. None of you can get it on Xbox, sorry. Rather strongly suspect that Sony's publishing deal would prevent that. So for those not aware, Death Stranding is published by Sony on the PlayStation, and I think they do own the IP, but it's published by 505 Games on the PC. So it's a Sony IP, but they released it on the PC before they had much of a presence over on Steam and all of that. And so they partnered with 505 Games to publish it on the PC. And somewhere in their negotiations, they forgot to block Game Pass. They forgot to exclude it. So I think they excluded the Xbox console as a platform. But Microsoft have found a crack in the armor and they are bringing it to Game Pass for PC. The significance of it is obviously that the game has a strong association with PlayStation as an almost exclusive, like exclusive as far as games are in this day and age. So yeah, they're just chipping away at that PlayStation identity and bringing it over to Game Pass. I wanted to play it for quite a while, despite the terrible showing, and it had a terrible showing at this event that we went to in this tent, where it was Hideo Kojima playing the game and giving a commentary of it as he played, with somebody else dubbing over a translation of the commentary as it went. And if you've seen Death Stranding, a lot of it is package delivery. You've probably heard a lot of people calling it like a FedEx sim and all the rest of it. And that's what it showed. It showed pretty much the worst parts of Death Stranding. And everyone in the tent was just like, what? This is awful. But I'm sure you've also seen like some of the art and some of the cutscenes and the setting and story and things about it that are a bit more appealing than the FedEx elements of it. I had it down on my list to play, and then we had Wandering Dutch over on Go Live, General consensus that a lot of people were saying is that the first 6 to 20 hours are quite slow paced and difficult. And unfortunately for me, Dutch basically gave away everything that happens in that first 6 hours or so. Things that you're definitely not supposed to know going into the game. Which just makes me think, like, if the first 6 hours are difficult at proper surprise pacing, I'm going to absolutely die in those 6 hours already knowing the things that it's revealing and unfolding in front of me. So it's on my list to never play now. Never's a strong word, but there's a lot of games on my list to play, and Death Stranding is very, very low on that list now, even though it's going to be on PC Game Pass and it's already on PlayStation Plus. But what about you lot? Who has played Death Stranding? Does anyone recommend? Am I wrong? Should I play it anyway? Is it worth enduring that first 6 hours to see the story through? Are any of you converted now that you have access to it? Like, weren't interested enough in Death Stranding to get it on the PlayStation or to buy it on the PC, but maybe now it's on a service you've got. Maybe you'll give it a go. The delivery stuff is actually cool if you're not playing on easy. The balancing is like a mini game. So Painful Discourse, you've played it PC or PlayStation? Still no one has identified the OST in the background, but it's definitely not a familiar part of it right now. Still, it should be looping back to the beginning soon, and I'll be very disappointed in you all if no one gets it after the loop through. Sega is not a game. Peter, so what am I missing? You're waiting on the RDNA 3 GPU and new AMD CPU. So you're building a PC at some point. And Peter, okay, this is the comment that I'm missing. So your plan is to get a new PC rig because yours is ancient, but you're tempted to wait a year. The old argument. It probably is a good time to wait though. Like, we are at the tail end of the current generation of CPUs and GPUs. Obviously, if you do wait, prices are going to boom again. Sega the game is your favorite. Yeah, it's not a bad one. Played it many times. You're going to save Death Stranding for retirement when you dream of a life working for Royal Mail. Post-apocalyptic Royal Mail, right? Which might be our retirements. Who knows? Who knows? PC, so yeah, there's like, people seem to think that you need to upgrade a PC every couple of years to stay current, and you definitely don't. So if you had bought a PC at the point in time where the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X came out, that PC would last as long as those consoles. It's just kind of how PC hardware works. You have opportunities to upgrade sooner, but not really needs to upgrade sooner. Although I will say, yeah, 2070 still runs game great, and it will for the rest of this console generation, Patrick, I am sure. I will say that I do not enjoy, on PC gaming, optimizing games is a thing that I hate. Let's throw that in as an extra topic in a little bit, because I've seen people advocate for having PC style settings menus in console games, and I hate the idea. But we'll make that an extra topic for the day if there's time. So I'm going to bring up a Death Stranding trailer because I haven't had a trailer for a little while. Death Stranding. I can't type. Let's bring up the terrible director's cut trailer. Final trailer. Yeah, we'll have that going. Sure. Optimization is why people choose consoles. Convenience and price as well. There are a few good reasons to choose consoles. Weird trailer. Weird game. You remember me struggling to stop the medium from stuttering? Yeah, the medium was it wasn't a stutter, it was a flicker. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's stick to Death Stranding for a little bit, or just move straight on. So embrace a group. Next topic. There aren't many actual topics today, but embrace a group acquiring things is probably the most newsworthy thing this week. Kojima didn't like the sub-name Director's Cut. Yeah, I do remember reading that. Because the implication that means cutting things out, right? Like, he's quite happy to be referred to as the director, but he didn't want people to think that he was reducing anything from the game, only adding to it with the Director's Cut. Death Stranding mod that removes all babies. Yeah. Yeah. Apart from that one. Oh, let's gloss over mods, shall we? That's a very brief topic that I don't really want to talk about. So, how about a Death Stranding mod that introduces pride flags? That could be a thing, right? Would that get banned from Mod Nexus or wherever it was? So, you may or may not have heard the story already, but Spider-Man Remastered on PC very quickly had someone put a user mod onto, I'm not sure what platform actually. I'm going to assume it was Nexus or one of the bigger PC modding platforms. They put a very simple mod on there that takes out all of the rainbow pride flags and stuff and replaces them with, I think, mostly American flags. And the mod got removed and the account got banned. What do we think of that? Open question first of all. So what's kind of wild about it is the mod that swapped out all the flags was the most simplistic mod ever. You get mods in games where they replace textures and replace characters and all those kind of things, and those take a little bit of work, but the mod to take out these flags, exactly as Wayne has just said then, the mod to take out these flags, all it did was give you the version that is already present for less progressive regions of the world that would already get mad and angry about those flags. So the mod was like a switch to say that you're playing in Russia or China or something like that. So it swapped out the flags for whatever Insomniac had already put in the game. You think it's pretty lame? What's lame though? You think it's lame that the mod exists, or you think that it's lame that the person that made that mod got banned entirely from the platform? Because I don't see how that's going to help anyone. It shouldn't have been banned. No, it's a private platform and they can do what they want with regards to hate speech and whatever. None of this American free speech stuff necessarily applies to Mod Nexus. But they're not going to help anyone by banning. It's so heavy-handed for something so simple. They just changed the region for the game. It's lame to make that mod, but you don't care that much. It's their time. It's very little time as well. So if you want to play as Satan, yeah, you could play as Satan, Tony. That wouldn't be a problem. No one would stop you. You can surely make Spider-Man naked. That's fine. That can sit on there. You can probably mod Kingpin to be like a 6-year-old child and beat the crap out of him. And that would probably be fine on Mod Nexus. But this one mod got attention and got more attention because they banned it and the user. So you do think that they should ban the mod? I can understand banning the mod because, like I say, it's not a free speech platform and you can definitely consider it like hate speech and discriminatory and all of those kind of things. But Mod Nexus is such a, I don't know, it's a dark place. You can do anything on there. You can do anything on there. They let me throw cheese at NPCs in Skyrim and that's not banned. Throwing cheese at people. So yeah, that's a minor story anyway. There's not too much to say on it, but you're more interested in the Stan Lee mod. What does the Stan Lee mod do besides put him in the game somewhere? How gay was Spider-Man before the mod? I don't recall it being particularly gay besides having like pride flags around. And I can't even remember, like, I don't remember them being prominent. I don't remember much about that, to be honest. It's obviously got... No, don't know. It's not like Last of Us Part 2, where the themes are core to the game and like pushed quite hard. Nude Kingpin mod, do it. Painful discourse. I will not. You think it was just supposed to be a semi-accurate depiction of New York City? There's some pride flags, and there's also all kinds of flags. Yeah. You will make a mod that replaces all the pride flags with American flags, but not mention it also makes you smooch every same-sex NPC that you pass. That would be difficult because you usually pass them like swinging by on a web really fast. But yes, I know that would be a good mod. To throw it in the faces of those hateful people. You play as him. Oh, you play as Stanley. What? But still a Spider-Man, like webs and all. Fair enough. You remember your life being changed forever by Marvel Comics in 1967. Peter, I will leave it up to you on whether you elaborate on that or not. Non-consensual. These aren't people, KY, which brings me to another Octopath Traveler point. Yeah, this was a good filler topic. I'm going all over the place. So, are you evil in games? This is a question that's open, and we'll drill into... I don't even remember what the topic was. Oh look, it's got dark in Forza, and my car's headlines are ruining the scene. Headlights. It's fine. I'll just pretend that's spotlighting for me. The Octopath Traveler thief character that can mug people, steal things from them. I don't do it unless a quest insists that I do. What about you? When you get choices to be evil, you get obvious ones like the Infamous games and the Mass Effect games, where it's like you can be a bad guy if you want, and people do it as their silly playthrough to be the bad guy. But when you're actually playing a game, like your first playthrough, nobody watching, not trying to entertain anyone but yourself, do you ever do the evil things? Where's the OST gone? Can you hear it? I can't. It's not Final Fight, Tony. It must have started again, which is why I can't hear it anymore. I'm going to bring that back. But if it started again and none of you have got it, I don't understand what's happening here. You should have it by now. Oh, even the little signature melody was in there then, just for a minute. You typically choose to be good, but you steal whatever you can in Skyrim. Not evil on the first run, but you do specific evil playthroughs and things afterwards. See, I'm like obviously very aware that none of these little things are people. So you can't do crimes in games, unlike real life where you're happy to do all of the crimes. See, Octopath Traveler's NPCs are as basic as they come. They have like one line of text that they'll repeat no matter who you are or when you talk to them. And I still can't steal from them. Neil B, welcome. And I don't know why. At some point, something in my mind should just snap and go, "Oh, this is silly. Just take what you want. Take what you want." You usually play good guy like you are in real life. In Infamous, it was Friat. I'm sure that's a typo, but I don't know what it's supposed to be. Oh, it was great. I'm assuming it was great to be a bad guy. See, I thought Infamous had like really poor execution for its good guy, bad guy choices. I always prefer things to be like a little more subtle. A little more subtle, both in outcome and what's like, I don't know, something a little more difficult to decide what you want to do in. But let's see. So in Isla's Gay Spider-Man mod, you have consent from everyone. Yeah. PC gaming, eh? The things you can do. The things you can do in PC gaming. Which was another meandering little topic. Read your joke. Hello. Your joke says hello. Neil B, welcome. Neil B, quick. Neil, jump over the candlestick. I wish that I had read that with like a better cadence of words. Non-PC PC gaming. There is plenty of that around. So, let's talk about PC gaming and console gaming. We have many chats over recent weeks about the benefits of the likes of Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo. They're nice, coherent, cohesive platforms that they bring relative to PC, which is more open. In terms of modding, for one thing, that's distinctly an advantage of the PC platform. But let's talk about options in games. So at the moment, first of all, simple terms, if you're playing a console game that has a performance and a fidelity mode, what do you choose? So the typical, you've all played console games, you know how they usually play out. So the fidelity mode is 30 frames per second, looks nicest, and performance mode is 60 or maybe higher than 60. Either the Switch doesn't have options, you get turd mode on the Switch. It's unlabeled. They could put the Switch performance profile on the other consoles and they would call it turd mode. Potato. Tony, no choice, should all be 60 with high quality. I don't like, so performance every time, most people seem to be there. Painful Discourse, Bethesda do support mods on console to a degree. It's not to the extent that you get it on PC. And I am very curious to see if Bethesda, now that they've got that like inside track at Microsoft, if they can make any headway to enhance and free up the mod scene on the console space as well. You don't care for graphics, that's fine, Isla. But Isla, you say you don't care for graphics, but I know you also don't particularly perceive like poor frame rates either. So for you might be the one person here that probably could choose the higher graphics mode. Depends on what's up with games here. So Neil B's got some options there. So 4K 60 frames per second is nice to you. Yeah, so, but are there any kind of games where you would opt for a quality mode that was 30 frames per second now? That's the first question. That's part one of the options question. The other thing, and I'm curious if there's anyone here that is of this opinion, but the other thing that I see some people ask for is, rather than just performance and quality selection, they want the full suite of options like you'd get in a PC game, so you can tune it to your tastes. As in the full suite of options, so like resolution and things, but also like shadow quality, texture quality, filtering, all of that kind of stuff that you're used to on a PC. There are people that want to see that on a console for people that consider themselves experts. And you're not an expert if you want that on a console, by the way. I dispute that thoroughly. Are there though? I mean, at the moment, are you happy to get the choice between the two, the fidelity and quality, or performance and quality? Would you like to see more options? Would you like to properly tailor the games to your needs? And I'll tell you why I hate the idea of having it on console. Optimizing for a frame rate, it fucking sucks. It's the worst experience. Sony must have brought in 1440p for good reason after refusing initially. I don't think they refused as such. So, side point. So, KY just said that Sony brought in 1440p, so that mid-resolution. The way that both consoles handle output resolution is there's no performance gain for it or anything like that. So they render at whatever they render at, and it's scaled to your output, be it 1080p, 1440p, or 1414 or 4K. It's a little bit different to how things are on the PC, where you can massively change the resolution. Wayne, you bought 3080 for it to look good. Yes. Fair point. Spriggan, welcome along. If TV manufacturers get Microsoft and Sony to jump on the 8K bandwagon as they did with all previous resolutions, the consoles will soon be back to 15 to 30 frames per second. So, yeah, 8K is never going to happen. Never's obviously like the wrong word, but not in the near future. No hardware is getting anywhere close to 8K. And this is where things like your AMD's FSR and stuff like that, like upscaling techniques, are the only way that anything is touching resolutions above 4K, really. 8K is it's a natural progression, but a fairly meaningless one. And in terms of power, like you need 4 times the power that you need for 4K, and the consoles already struggle with that. So no, 8K is like, wow, far away, far away. Sony has 8K on the box, yes. They'll take a piece of that marketing if they can. But if you did care, you would prefer to customize maximally. See, it's a terrible idea. So the problem with optimizing games on PC, and the reason that I never, ever, Spriggan, I'll get to that in a second, never, ever want that experience, is when you're optimizing a game to hit a target frame rate on a PC, you're never going to be anywhere near as good at it as developers, because you don't have the tools that they have. So if you've got a game on a console, they can literally go through it room by room, scenario by scenario, and tune everything to hit the target frame rate. If you're on a PC and you're thinking, I can tune this myself, it's almost impossible, because you tune it in a quiet part of the game. You go into your setting, you don't go mid-combat where there's explosions everywhere and start tweaking your settings, because that spoils the game. So you start a game up and you spin around in the world. If you're really lucky, the game will have a tight benchmarking tool. And some games have good benchmarking tools. The Tomb Raider games have good benchmarking tools. The Gears of War games have good benchmarking tools. But a lot of games don't. So you start the game up and you start tweaking your settings and you go, yeah, this is good. This is performing well. And then you move into combat and you go, oh no, it wasn't. And you finish that little fight and you go back into your settings and you lower a little bit. And you get a bit sad because it doesn't look as good as it did. And then you go into the next scenario and you're like, oh no, it's not quite there. I'm going to need to tweak that. And then you go into the next scennario and you go, this is it. I've nailed it. But I can probably tweak it a little bit higher in this area. And you go into your next scenario. You haven't quite got it right. And then you think you've got it. And at some point in the game, it will strain that bit harder. And you'll realize that you've got to the dramatic climax of this game and you've ruined it with performance issues. And it sucks. Peter, dynamic tuning, yes, there are sometimes. Some games are very good at it. Forza Horizon games are very good at it. A lot of games have, in fact, it's pretty common to get dynamic tuning on FSR and DLSS, so on upscaling and on base resolutions. But that's pushing those in the direction of the consoles more so than the other way around. That's saying I don't really want to deal with this myself. So it's the opposite direction to what I see people asking for on consoles, which is fine-tuning it to their own tastes. Harim 4K almost certainly is a VR chat room. Everything is. Sims mods. Can you still mod The Sims? I don't know. I'm sure you can still mod The Sims 2 and 3. I don't know if 4 is a bit tighter. Of course you can, because it's on PC and you can do anything. Fair enough. Right. That's why you like consoles. Well, exactly, Painful Discourse. That is one of the most appealing parts of a console, because particularly, well, no, all games really, like if the developer's worth their weight, then they've used the profiling tools and they've gone through their own game and they have tweaked and optimized it to make sure that it does hold its performance and you do get the best out of the visual settings without you having to dick around in there. I only like... PC settings are massively alleviated by technologies like FreeSync and G-Sync, so the variable refresh rates. Before those days, optimizing games on PC was just the least fun you could have in games. Is that true? No, it wasn't as bad as playing 12 minutes, but it was bad. People who make Sims mods don't like gameplay. Oh, can you mod the Sims to have gameplay? Have you tried it, KY? I've never played a Sims game, but they obviously have their audience. And their audience obviously have a lot of money. Yes, Patrick, I agree that it would make too many people screw up their experiences, but not just people that don't know what they're doing. People that do know what they're doing would also screw up their experiences. Like, you can't match a developer with proper profiling tools. Saying that, every game that has film grain should let me disable it, even on console. Stuff that's not like a performance impact is just a preference, like getting rid of the film grain. Yes, please, all the time. The worst time for PC gaming was the limited installs and Star Force era. What's Star Force? That will come to me in a minute, I'm sure. Sims was the biggest seller back then because of the female fan base. Well, Sims is always... I mean, it's super progressive, right? Like, recently they even allowed for incestuous relationships. That's not progressive. That was a mistake that they patched out. Sims has always had, yeah, a broad audience, a diverse audience, more so than the dude pro shooters of the Xbox. What are you booing and shouting no at? What is Star Force? Like, the name's familiar, but the words Star and Force are such common names that they would be familiar even if it's not a real game. How has nobody got this OST yet? You're all fired. You should play that co-op game from GamePass. Tony, you're going to have to be more specific. GamePass has quite a few co-op games. DRM is killing a few games. The cracked ones are running better. Yeah, Wayne, that's been an ongoing issue. That I sympathise with people. Boo me for jokingly conflating incest with progressive values. Yeah, absolutely. And you should boo me for that. I can't remember what it is that they patched. I can't remember what they were intending to add when they accidentally added incest. What if you give us the first letter of the game? Yeah, the first letter of the game is an S. Yes. The rest of the letters are not all S. There are other letters in there. Yeah, so DRM, yes. Not Star Fox, no. You're all going to kick yourself when you hear what it is. You really are. And not when you hear what it is, because you can already hear what it is, but when I tell you the name of it, you're going to kick yourself. So DRM, oh, Star Force was a really bad DRM bundle with PC games on disc back when they used the Piracy Boogeyman to push the limited install system. Yeah, okay, limited installs I do remember now that you mention it. Back in the days of discs, wild. Well done, KY. Well done, KY. Shame on everyone else. Oh, unlucky Isla. You got in before I shamed everyone, but KY gets the points. What? Pretending you didn't read the answer before you said it. It is 2. Yeah, nobody knows the OST from Street Fighter 1. Nobody played Street Fighter 1. Like, the series basically started from 2. This particular track right now is not a familiar one, but let me see if I can pull it back to the beginning, and then you'll get the more familiar ones. Oh, I can't hear it now that I've done that. Is it still playing? This is why I don't normally piss around with the OST. It goes funny quite quickly. Oh, there it was. Play for me. I don't hear anything. Maybe you can. You can only play games that Gaz would bully you for playing. Yes. So I've gone a whole minute in, which means it might have skipped some. But yeah, no, it's this is why I said that once it loops around, you'd all get it, because it includes the most famous of tracks, which is Ken's stage. And sounds like this. If you'd heard this stuff, you surely would have got it. But Embracer better make Soul Reaver or else that. I can't see what the little icon is afterwards, it's too far away from me, but I like that we're threatening Embracer. So, talking about games you have today, now over 1K. Oh. This is a mess. What was I talking about? Right. So DRM. So yeah, you've got those old limited installs. They were ridiculous, but nowadays you have the most talked about one is always de novo. It always sounds like it's so simple to read, but for some reason I can't say it out loud. De novo, whatever it is. The popular one that gets like an ongoing escalating battle with piracy and keeps changing and getting worse. It's notorious because games that have it still get cracked pretty quickly, and the cracked versions usually have better performance. So Resident Evil 8 was an example. I haven't yet, Peter, I'll have a look in a minute. De novo, that's how I'm going to say it. And the cracked versions of games run better because the piracy, the anti-piracy, the DRM solution is trying so hard to make it impossible to crack these games that it's interfering with the way that a processor can actually execute them. And yeah, so you get stutters and things as the code is being encrypted and decrypted as it goes, and it's a bit of a mess. But I do sympathize with publishers because they do have like... So I sympathize with pirates and publishers on that one, because publishers do have a right to protect their works from thieves, but piracy isn't... It's not always good, but it's not always bad either. I think you can pirate ethically. Some people have like good reason to do so. So I'm not here, like, this isn't Game On Daily officially endorsing piracy, but I'm okay with ethical piracy. I don't blame publishers for like, it's the thieving pirates, the bad kind, the unethical pirates are the reason that we have de novo. And that's a shame. It's not what Fast would say. No, I would steal a car if I had the opportunity. What AV cables do you need for that? That is back in the days when it would have varied by country, I think. What did the Super Nintendo have? Was there S-Video on that one? Composite? Scar? I don't know. I'm sure you could emulate it on whatever PC you want. Street Fighter 2 might even be on the Switch backlog, I don't know. That's got some Super Nintendo stuff, right? 40% off HBO Max on a prepaid 1 year, worth it. No idea, Tony. I don't think we have HBO Max over here. And yes, I have heard that it is being deconstructed and merged with Discovery. Patrick, that is a very obvious example that I would have to agree with. If a game is unavailable to purchase, yeah, there's nothing wrong with pirating that. Like, nobody loses in that situation. I also, more controversial, I suppose, or more debatable, people that actually can't afford or can't access games for whatever reason. I think piracy is fine in that scenario. I don't agree with all the people that would pirate a game because, like, they don't like something about it. There's a lot of people there's a lot of scenarios where piracy comes up that are not ethical, that are just like, you want $70 for a game, well then I'm going to play it for free. That's not ethical piracy. That's just like stealing a game. Whether you agree with the price or not, if you disagree with the price, then your option is to not play the game. But it's a complicated issue. Piracy is a complicated issue because I don't condemn it entirely by any means. You have a weird desire to chain as many AV converters together as you can. Don't do it, especially not on those old consoles. So consoles from that era that had analog signals, the more you convert it in daisy chain, the lower the quality at the end of it. Whereas modern consoles with their digital connections, you can chain and extend as much as you can, and the signal is either there or not. Not pro incest, of course not, but pro daisy chaining and all the rest of it. Understood. Right, what topics? I've run out. There's been a few things through this that I said I would come back to, and I've forgotten what they are. So either for this section we're going to say bring your own topic, or bring my topics back to me, the ones that I forgot. Either things are good to go. There have been decades where folks who can easily afford a game didn't choose to help the creators. Yeah, it's not just like periods of time either, because obviously like there's other countries that have very different financial situations to us as well. So, and you can get fairly deep into philosophical thought on whether access to what is essentially an art should be gated by like capitalism and all the rest of it. Like, should there be people that just are gated out of playing games and things? No, I don't think there should really. So if you are stuck in a gate that is keeping you away from games that you want to experience, I'm fine with piracy in that situation. And developers are as well, by and large. By and large, the people that actually make games want people to play them more than they want money for them. They want fair recompense from the people that can pay for them, but all of them would want the people that can't pay for them to be able to play. Like, and that's painting in broad strokes. And there's probably some developers out there that are like, no, fuck you, poor people, I want my money. But that's not most of them. When GoldenEye, I'm not a rumor mill kind of guy, RWK. If you want to know when GoldenEye is coming out, you check 4chan yourself. Source of 99% of rumors. 99.9% of industry insiders are just reading 4chan and regurgitating the ones that they like. Sorry to spoil that little game, but I will not partake. Why hasn't Nintendo come out with a new console? Nilby, Nintendo haven't come out with a new console because they are in the same situation as Xbox and PlayStation were in the 360 and PS3 days, in that they've not done anything. So Xbox and PlayStation both moved over to their common x86 architecture so that they could smooth over the transition between generations. And that's why this gen, you've got smart delivery for one, and like PlayStation are obviously way behind Xbox, but they've still got cross-gen development going on quite comfortably, which is why all of their games are coming out on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Nintendo didn't think ahead like that. So for Nintendo to release a new console is quite a difficult thing, because they go from 111 million Switch owners to 0. Which is why the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 generation lasted about 8 years. Typical console generations in those days were 4 or 5 years. They hit their 4 or 5 year mark. The hardware was aging and dusty, but they were like, shit, we can't really start again right now. So that is the situation that Nintendo are in. And we'll see what the next Switch is, because there's obviously been like long running rumors that it'll be a Switch Pro that uses DLSS to take your current Switch games and enhance them, which would be a way to continue the audience that they've got. But it would also mean that they're like the full next however many years still held back by the Switch original version. Like there'd be some common architecture in terms of processing speed and things like that. You wonder if Switch games will be backward compatible on whatever they make next. There's a few games that you play if they run better. Patrick, I would love a better way to play current Switch games. There are quite a few there that I would also play. So my hope is that, welcome Femsy. My hope is that yes, they will release something that can play those games at a better quality, and I'd be happy with that. But obviously, like if it's literally a Switch that plays games at higher resolution, then they will remain behind even the current consoles for another number of years. So they have some decisions to make. Oh, I think the day just reset. I just saw a little flicker. I think my Forza Horizon day just went back. It wasn't entirely smooth like it normally is, so did a little flicker. There was a question that I missed. So piracy isn't as illegal as some think, as it's only if you're sharing it for money. Yeah, it's slightly complicated and varies region by region. Downloading ROMs that you have legal access to is absolutely fine. So if you want to run an emulator on your PC for a current Nintendo Switch game, it's illegal if you haven't bought the Switch game, but if you have bought the Switch game, then you're welcome to download it and emulate it wherever you like, in whatever way you like. It's slightly grey, but yeah, there's ways around it. But there are also many circumstances where it is illegal. So you've pirated the Sims expansion packs that you already owned. Yeah, that's fine. That's an example of already having the license. It's nothing illegal about that, I don't think. Whoa, scrolling. So Embracer was the other conversation that I got reminded of. Legal and moral are very different, Peter. Yes, moral is more important to me. Femsy, you got a Switch Lite last week. You've never played a Switch before, and you're really enjoying Luigi's Mansion 3. Femsy, I'm going to take it as this is me being an influential guy. I'm such a powerful influencer that I couldn't stop you getting a Switch. Good, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I've never played Luigi's Mansion 3, but I've heard some people love it. I want to play, so my top priority for the Switch is probably Triangle Strategy and the Xenoblade Saga games. I want to play those. And then there's things like Astral Chain and the Musou games, Hyrule Warriors and the Fire Emblem Warriors ones. I want to play all of those. There are a few Switch games that I would actually like. So Splatoon is another good example. I played one of the Splatoon games, the first one. Splatoon was like aesthetically something that I would like. The themes were there. There was stuff that I wanted to play there. But the very first one was tailored around motion controls. So you could play it with a controller, but it was quite limited. Like you couldn't look up very high and things like that because it was clearly designed around motion control, which put me off of it. But maybe Splatoon 3 will be good. Who knows? Xenoblade 2, 60 hours in, they give you new tutorials. I've heard that for 3 as well, that it's like a 100-hour tutorial. It's better than cramming the entire tutorial in at the start like Scarlet Nexus does. Astral Chain would probably be pretty great at 60 frames per second. Yeah, I've never played it, but I assume it will be, along with the Bayonetta games, a lot better on a better platform. Embracer. So Embracer have announced they have bought Tripwire, who are the studio that made that shark bitey game. They obviously fairly recently bought Square Enix's Western studios, so Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal and Square Enix Montreal, I think they used to be called. I'm sure they've got a new name now, but they bought their Western studios. So the guys behind, yes, Legacy of Soul Reaver, and yes, Tomb Raider and the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, though those studios went recently to Embracer. They've also just acquired, or they've won the auction for the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit IP. For I don't know how many years they've got hold of that, but they can make games in that universe. Tripwire also make Red Orchestra and Killing Floor. I didn't know they made the Killing Floor games. That makes sense. And they made that Sharky game, right? I can't remember what that was called. And what else did they acquire? There was one other thing. Oh, they got Limited Run Games as well, which was an unusual acquisition. So Limited Run Games release like niche physical releases for usually indie games that wouldn't otherwise have. Yeah, Maneater, thank you, Wayne. I think they made Maneater. I could be wrong there, but yes. So they've acquired Tripwire. They've got, can't remember the numbers, but they've got like a lot of studios, and they've got many of those studios are tiny, but they've got some big ones, and they're getting more into the AAA space now. So somebody asked earlier, I think it was Decado asked, who's going to make the first Lord of the Rings game from them. I mean, you'd have to fancy those two Western studios, Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, as the most capable. They've got THQ Nordic as well. So the people that made the Darksiders games could probably do something in that space. There are already multiple Lord of the Rings projects in the works as well, so I'm not sure how exclusive those licenses are, but if they've only just won them, you'd think it will be a while until we actually see anything come out. Is it more sad to forget to drink your coffee or to forget that you already finished it when you go to pick it up? You can just get another one if you've finished it. If you forget to drink it and you see it there all cold and manky, that's worse, I think. With that many studios, is it possible that Embracer are planning a Game Pass-like subscription service? Why not, eh? Why not? But, like, I don't think it's imminent. So Embracer have previously been very open to working with other subscription services. They've, like, all the Darksiders games have been on Game Pass. They've had games on PlayStation Plus. With them being a monopoly. Yeah. I don't know. They're still very open to working with other other services and platforms as well. But I guess at some point, if they have enough content to support their own service, they might decide that they want to have a crack at it. Aren't they just a holding company? They don't actually publish. Yeah, they don't publish their games, but they have publishing arms. So THQ are a publishing arm. You'll never see like an Embracer logo at the start of a game. They don't directly publish. Limited Run are obviously a publishing arm of a sort as well. And Deep Silver, yeah, they've got loads. So it's difficult now that you mention it. Actually, now it's a good question about the subscription services, because we got a small insight into what those actually cost as well. It's not a lot to go on, but let me bring up the old Game On Daily where I saw it. Game On Daily. So we had. I could search for it, but I can't be bothered. Here we go. So where are we? So at some point yesterday morning, we got a little insight into how much Xbox paid for Cooking Simulator. So they paid $600,000 for Cooking Simulator, which is a game from 2019. And how much does it actually sell for? No, Steam. No, just Steam, you stupid browser. Who searches in Bing? No one, not me, that's for sure. Yeah, so Cooking Simulator is a £15.49, so $20 probably, game that came out 3 years ago. Sold reasonably well, but it's definitely not selling anymore. They've just added it onto the PC Game Pass. What an attractive website. This is Steam, I love it. I'm glad you like it. Now, you also got Game On Daily. It's a wonderful website. Very slick and nice and good to use. So Cooking Simulator at $600,000, you'd have to fancy that's probably like the lower end, the bottom end of what Microsoft are paying for games. I know if you meant Game On Daily, I'm a self-troll. follow you for feet pics. One moment, just going to do that now. No. But it's well, what was I saying? So 600,000, and you'd have to fancy Microsoft are putting on like 10 games a month. Obviously, their first-party games are a whole different affair, cost a whole lot more to make, but entirely different deal. But if they were putting 10 games on at that kind of price, it's not that expensive to run, right? Obviously, I couldn't afford to run a subscription service, but to set one up that's doing indie games, you'd need 5 million, 6 million a month. Quite a lot of subscribers, but nothing like what GamePass has got. PlayStation Now should have been able to keep running. Been roughly okay with small games, but to build a big one, so you got to fancy they would pay a lot more than that for like AAA games and things like that. It's a shame we've only got this one figure to go on. Doesn't really tell us a lot, because I can't imagine they can get many games as cheap as they can get Cooking Sim and still have like a satisfied audience. $70 PC games by next year. We've already got $70 PC games, Sony. We've already had them for a while. I think what's got people talking about the $70 PC games is Call of Duty on Steam, right? And it's not the... So Final Fantasy VII Remake was $70 on a pretty bad gaming talk. And who knows what kind of feet people like. I'm not a foot person. I wouldn't understand. But yeah, your feet are gross. $70 PC games happened already, Tony. So I think it might be vaguely new, relatively new on Steam. So people are taking notice of it, because Call of Duty is back onto Steam for the first time in a while. But yeah, they're coming. PC gamers will get used to it. You will not pay £70 for a game. You will just wait. Femzy, I'm not a big fan of paying. It's always going to be like... Value is always going to be in the eye of the beholder. So £70 to one person isn't the same as £70 to another. Spriggan, I remember when PC games cost a lot less than that. The other big advantage that PC gaming has is obviously the digital marketplace. Marketplaces are a lot more open. So usually you can get games cheaper than their retail price. I remember The Witcher 3 came out for, I think it was like 50 quid, but I got it for £11.50. Those were the days. Good bargains. You don't get that so much anymore. But yeah, so Wayne's got Spider-Man £35 on CD keys. What's Spider-Man RRP? It's like 50, isn't it? Yadani can confirm. Took a charge back from your bank. They said, Isla's OnlyFans, you said some scam website. Give me my money back. Yeah. You've been playing Gears of War Judgment on xCloud, and it's been pretty good. Input lag is minimal. Shame it's only 720p though. But so how was it? When you say that it's been pretty good, do you mean Gears of War Judgment is pretty good, or do you mean the xCloud stuff is pretty good? Stop the weird conversation and help me out. I need some game talk, not some OnlyFans nose shots. You've thrown me well off of what I was saying. I don't know. What's the current topic? So you got the Witcher 3 pre-order. I got Witcher 3 so cheap I accidentally bought it twice and gave one away. I don't remember what the question was. This is just like... Chat's got away from me. How does CD keys and Eneba work? Remaining reviewer codes that didn't get used. You'd only... no, yes and no. So CD keys is one of the more reputable sites. They're not remaining reviewer codes. They have distribution deals with Steam or with publishers directly, usually with publishers directly, usually indie ones. So they get allocated Steam keys from a publisher, properly above board, nice and professional. Some other ones, and I'm going to specifically avoid naming names when I talk about other ones, but less reputable ones are user markets and how they get their keys. It's not necessarily above board. by reputation, and they do, to be fair, they do try and stamp this out, but by reputation, a lot of them are keys that were bought using stolen credit cards and things like that are then sold on. So be careful where you shop. But you do get a lot of legitimate deals on those. The PC market is just open like that. So publishers will sell keys on at a good price to the likes of CD Keys, who will get you a better price than buying directly from Steam. So the game is pretty good, but not the best in the series. The cloud experience aside from that is pretty good also. So I played Gears of War Judgment, not when it came out, but sometime after. And I got really put off by the presentation of it. So Judgment was unique in the Gears franchise because it was made by People Can Fly instead of the usual Epic or Coalition. So they got a third party to do it. And People Can Fly are quite a good studio. They made... what's the game called where you can kick people? Bullet Storm, something like that. Which is a pretty good game. But Gears Judgment... I just didn't like the presentation of it. When you'd go into a serious story mission and you get a menu that was like, what extra challenges do you want to take? Or here's your par, time and score for the level and nonsense like that. Yeah, Outriders more recently, and Bulletstorm was the one I was thinking of. So I don't think they're like a terrible developer, but I didn't really get along with Gears Judgment. CD Keys is beast. CD Keys, I think, are a legitimate one. You can get games cheaper if you're not too worried about how they're sourced. Green Man Gaming is another legitimate one. Yeah, I think those ones are okay to use. The ones where you need to be a little bit... You don't need to be cautious because you as a buyer aren't necessarily doing anything wrong. But the ones that are user markets are grey. Like where those users get their keys isn't necessarily like the store's concern. Have I ever typed a random alphanumeric string into a code input thing to see if you get lucky, and is that a crime? I have not, and no, it's not a crime. It can't be a crime. I say I have not. I almost certainly have at some point, but nobody gets lucky on that. There's too many billions of combinations on a alphanumeric key code that's like 20 characters long. Even on a platform as big as Steam with as many games and keys, you won't guess one. And I guess it is technically, like, it would count as a crime really, because you are willfully stealing whatever it is. But why is that still open? Go away, Steam Cooking Simulator. What else is coming out on Game Pass? There were some other things. We've had Death Stranding. Immortals Phoenix Rising is coming out before long. Has anyone played Immortals Phoenix Rising? Challenge accepted. KY, you have a week to complete it. Take a screenshot of the code that you guess, and I will not believe you. I will assume that you just went and bought a code to win the challenge. It's an impossible challenge because you're not going to be able to convince anyone that you did it, even if you do. Midnight Fight Express is coming soon. When's Midnight Fight Express coming out? That's the one-man punchy game, fighting game, top-down, like isometric action thing, isn't it? Green Man used to be really good when they were new, but now a lot of their deals are 25% off RRP on games that they already have at 20% off. KY, what do you win? Nothing, because you can't prove that. I've already deemed the challenge impossible for you. Because even if you did do it, I wouldn't believe you. Fortnite download code. Don't sell him a pet, he's going to eat it. That should do it. Tony should get kicked out now. August 23rd for Midnight Fight Express. Well, I hope it turns out well. That's, like I say, that's a one-man dev thing, which doesn't mean it'll be good or bad. We shall see. Immortals Phoenix Rising. Has anyone already played it? I don't know. That's too difficult a question, Peter. I've got a few games that I would list up there. But I'm just going to gloss over that one and pretend I didn't hear it for a minute. Immortals Phoenix Rising, if you haven't played it, it is actually pretty good. It gets likened to Breath of the Wild a lot, which may be fair, it may not. I've not played Breath of the Wild. I'm still waiting for a discount on that one. Immortals Phoenix Rising, though, it's light, it's entertaining, the combat's reasonably good, and it's quite fun. The only thing that I would say about it, if you are thinking you'll get into it, is in typical Ubisoft style, it's absolutely freaking huge. There's too much on the map, too much to do. It's a good game, but it'll demand like 80 hours and wear you down. So I haven't finished it. I've done about maybe half of it, and I liked it, but I couldn't carry on. Might go back to it at some point. You haven't. You almost bought the game a bunch of times, but you never went through with it. Definitely give it a go. It is a good game, and it's quite funny. How is it? Yes, Gears Judgment lacks the Gears traditional presentation and story. It seems they only thought about making huge rooms to have fights in. It lacks that epic touch. Another retirement project, yeah. I wouldn't leave it too long. Like I say, it's actually a good game. It's pretty well written, and the puzzles and things in it, there's a lot of puzzles in it, but they are actually nicely designed. There's a lot to like in it, it's just too long. Too much that's there to do. Like, I don't know, maybe I should go back to it and just try and plow through the mainline quests, but... Is there a wedding in Street Fighter 2? I'm going to say yes, because you can hear it. This is the Street Fighter 2 Super Nintendo version's OST that is playing. It gets weird in places. You played Phoenix for about 15 hours, but you had too many puzzles for you, and it was a bit too Pixar kiddie friendly. Yeah, it has so many puzzles. So many Ubisoft map icons. Back on PC, Android phone has Messenger beta where chat heads ruin your screen and lags it out. Messenger beta. Cats need homes and you might take one. Is that like a spontaneous pet grab, Tony? Go for it. Why not? And Isla losing her mind. Good. Right. I've run out of things. I think this week's show was maybe slightly scatty, and I apologise for that. I've been missing things and I don't really know what's going on. We've also been fairly light on news, to be fair. Wait. One more question from Yodani. Did you miss, if I answered, how the call-in Go live streams will work? I did miss the question, Yodani. We haven't done the test runs, so while I do know the answer more or less, I would rather wait until we've ironed out the details before I give you that answer. So save that for another week. So the Tuesday show, last I heard, we were aiming to start that near the beginning of September. It should come up soon. Spriggan, the map icons and default UI are a big problem for you with Ubisoft games. It makes you feel like you're just robotically going through a shopping list. You weren't here last week, were you? Compulsion loops we were talking about, and that is an example of it. And yes, I also had that problem with it. It's also the one thing that Insomniac aren't very good at. Sunset Overdrive and Spider-Man side missions weren't too engaging either. You had a topic question. Do you still have a topic question? I have time for one more. You like this show? Good. I'm glad you like this show, but I'm picky, and next week's will be better. It'd be more structured. Works a little bit better when I structure it a little more tightly, so that the back and forth works a little better. If I have the topics laid out nicely, then I can get the questions in at the right time, and we can actually discuss things without me completely losing my mind and forgetting where I am. Have you ever taekwondo kicked a Nintendo cartridge and broke it? Gamescom news, Patrick. I hope that there is some. There's also, so QuakeCon is on today as well. All I've seen out of QuakeCon is a few bits and pieces added to PC Game Pass. Quake Champions being probably the most interesting. Not necessarily the best game of the bunch, but the one that should be most topical because it's a current service game that flopped terribly. We shall see if Game Pass mode gives it a little breath of life or not. You tend to break things by accident, and when you mean to break something, you accidentally your hand instead. There's a Quake sale too. Also, Doom 54 99p. Doom. I'm assuming there's an M missing, and that was Doom. Doom 6. Oh, Doom 64. Doom 64 is one of the games available on Game Pass, alright? You can just go play it. You would like to formally request people leave questions for me to answer in the Because You Asked videos, because you love editing them and you want to make one right now. Yeah, so if anyone hasn't watched the most recent Since You Asked, Because You Asked video, you should check it, because it's fun. You can leave me questions anywhere. You can leave them on Twitter, you can leave them on Game On Daily, you can leave them on this YouTube video, you can leave them on one of the other YouTube videos, and they can make for some fun videos. It can be a deep, serious question or something silly. No, you didn't, Tony. You asked about... I don't know, but I'll look for it. Do I think that RDNA 2 is being overlooked by devs? No, I don't. I've spoken about... What does that say? Malcolm? What's Malcolm? What is RDNA? It's AMD's graphics architecture. Radeon DNA. Malcolm is a YouTuber. I don't know any YouTubers. I know Cole Eastwood and Gaz. Not literally just those. I know a few YouTubers, but... Guy that threatened to plant a bomb at PlayStation headquarters. Cole Eastwood. No, not Cole Eastwood. No, I don't know that person and I don't know that story. But he sounds like a dick. Oh, because Spider-Man is on PC now. Okay, dramatic. I'm not on Top Chat, Tony. I'm just not... I got distracted. You were issuing commands, things that you wanted me to yell in the pet shop, but those aren't questions. So, Neil, RDNA, I think it's being used more than people think already. And yes, more is going to come. I don't think the tools are missing features in the way that some people assume, and I don't think... The thing is, if the RDNA 2 suite of tools are working well, we shouldn't notice them. So most of them are performance enhancements that are gained ideally by not letting us see what they do. Tony, I'm definitely not ignoring you. I never could. You're quite noisy. Just ask it again and I'll try. You mean you've asked one for the Since You Asked series? Devs can't fully use the RDNA 2 while also making games for Xbox One though. Well, they can, I would say. There's things... So I fully agree that making games for the Xbox One is holding certain things back. But I would say that's quite fundamental things. Like like physics and AI and scope of levels and things like that can be held back, but that doesn't mean that they can't squeeze visual fidelity out. Most of the RDNA tools are on the graphic side of things. So really, they should be able to do most of it. You could argue maybe they don't need to fully utilize it all if the game is cross-platform, but I think like not strictly an RDNA 2 tool, but FSR 2, if that was used in a game and nobody told you that it was used in a game, you shouldn't know. It shouldn't make any difference to us as gamers. And it's the same for all of the like mesh shaders and variable rate shading and things like that. If they're implemented well, you shouldn't know that they're there unless somebody specifically lays it out in a dev blog. And given that 99.9% of the audience don't give a shit what technologies are used, you'd have to be pretty tuned into what developers are saying. Like, the marketing team's not going to come out and say, "Oh, we've used variable rate shading," and then try and convince normal people that that's an attractive technology. It's not supposed to be attractive. It's not supposed to be glamorous. It's supposed to make the game run better. So, Tony, I said that 2070 is good for the games this gen. Does that mean it gets all the features as well? No, it's just as good. No, Tony, it means that the 2070 as a graphics card, if you consider that to be let's just say ballpark about the same as the current consoles today, then in 5 years' time it will still be about the same as the consoles. So 2070 won't maximize today's games. Like, you get something like Cyberpunk, a 3090 can't run that at its highest settings. But it's never gonna, like, the consoles aren't suddenly gonna start outstripping graphics cards over time. That's the thing that doesn't really change in the PC space. Patrick, I've seen that you're in school for game development, and I'm very interested in all of that, because I would also like to have a little nose and make some stuff. And yes, the technologies, the RDNA 2 stuff that you asked about, like, I'm not saying it's entirely disinteresting, but it's not interesting for a marketing team. It's quite hard to, because it's not glamorous. So it's quite hard to push something out. It's quite hard to explain that you are like drawing something in less detail in a way that a user won't notice, and then try and sell that as exciting. It's not really exciting. It's just a bit of extra performance so you can push things elsewhere. We need games with non-flangeable transactions. I'm not going to try and understand that. I'm going to leave that one right there. Yes, Patrick, and there are people that care about it. So at some point, particularly Microsoft, when they start using these technologies, they kind of have a responsibility to talk about them so that other people making games understand the impact. And then we should catch wind of it through nerd channels. But so we agree some words aren't real. Definitely many words aren't real. Anyway, I'm gonna stop there because I'm just waffling nonsense. Like I say, next week we'll be back with all the structure and news. Go live this Saturday is probably going to be really loud, so you should come along for that. It's probably going to be loud. That's all I can say about that one for now. I should be back on the treadmill at some point tomorrow. Don't know what I'm going to play, but I'm sure it'll be chaotic and good and fun. And then we start again with another week. It's going to be brilliant. So if you are watching after the fact, leave a comment, say hello, ask some questions, call me names. The usual. Gaz is only ever loud. It's not just going to be Gaz that's loud. It's going to be a loud show. You'll see. You'll see. Tony, I answer questions about games. I'm not going to be a surrogate mother for you. Such a shame. I'm going to end the show on that. Thanks, Tony.